Hi, guys, and welcome back to Getting There, the podcast, where I'm on my own. I don't know what we should call it. The solo series? I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It has been one hell of a week. And I think the point of these podcasts is for me to be brutally honest and for me to let you in on what I'm actually going through. So I officially told everyone on the internet that the podcast is changing direction, which basically means I've left myself but no choice to actually do the thing. And let me tell you, it does feel really, really scary. Because once you say something out loud, like once you declare it and declare it that publicly, there's no hiding anymore. I feel like I've made myself accountable. And I kind of knew I had to do that. Otherwise, I would have just carried on hiding forever, which is also like another scary place to be in because you kind of don't stand anywhere, you know. I was speaking to my friend this week and she was saying she felt unstuck. And I said, you know, sometimes when frogs jump to like on lily pads and we're embodying these different versions of our lives. And as we jump from the lily pad, I feel like I'm in this bit of my life where I'm jumping in the air, like I'm not there and I'm not here. And it's a really uncomfortable, scary place to be at. But we all go through it. I wonder how many of you feel the same. So this week I decided to start sharing my own journey in getting there on social media. And honestly, guys, I felt completely and utterly naked. Vulnerable does not even begin to cover it. And I need to be honest here because I was so hesitant to even put up some of those pictures because they felt so raw. And I think I was still judging myself. I was like, you look so bad, to be honest with you. And then some of them made me want to cry because those images and those moments, they took me back to the days when I couldn't even so much as look at myself in the mirror. But I'm not even joking, guys. I would walk past my bathroom and I would just turn the mirror the other way, or I'd look at the floor when I was in my hallway. Ooh. The days when my entire worth was just tied to a number of a scale, like I'd weigh myself most days, and if it hadn't gone down, I was like, you're worth jack shit. And to be honest with you, going through those pictures, I actually found it quite painful. But what surprised me the most is, as I posted those pictures, for the first time in my life, I really reflected back on my journey and I felt so proud, embarrassed, but also quite proud, you know, proud of how far I've come. Because the truth is, the biggest battle I've ever fought in my whole life has never been an external one. It's always been internally. And there was at one point in my life, guys, where I thought I would just be destined to hate myself forever. And when I was going through those pictures and looking back on them all, there wasn't one big moment that just changed everything for me. There wasn't just like a huge lightning bolt or some great grand transformation. When I look back, I understand this transformation in even being kind to myself started with the micro steps, the tiny little choices that we make, the small promises that I decided to finally keep to myself. Because I don't know if you guys do this, but sometimes we set inherently large goals. And I would do that for myself all of the time. I'd be like, I'm going to lose weight, so therefore I'm going to run a marathon. And I'm going to go on a diet, so therefore I'm going to go vegan. And I would set these inherently large goals. And then what would happen is I would miss a run or eat that chocolate bar or have a bit of meat. And then the internal monologue would just start like, I knew you weren't good enough. I knew you wouldn't do it. And then this just like compounds as evidence against ourselves where we just distrust ourselves. And we end up with this like evidence box of like, I know I can't do it because look how many times I've tried. So for me, it was learning to trust myself again, or trust myself at all. So for me, it really started in the small steps. And I know there's been a lot of people messaging me on social media, like what made that huge change. It really, really wasn't, guys. And things really, really take a long time. Like when I look back, it was 2014. Like that was 11 years ago. And I just think we do live in this world where everything feels next day. And life just doesn't work like that. And this is why in this journey of getting there, the small, tiny, almost seemingly insignificant stuff really matters. The tiny, consistent steps, the way that you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. Because transformation doesn't happen in one big dramatic moment, guys. It happens in the quiet, in your repeated daily decisions, how you show up for yourself, even in the smallest of ways. And I have to be honest with you, like I had to catch myself this week. I spoke to myself really, really badly. I don't know if you're going to see it in the vlog, but I did film it. But knowing me, maybe I didn't film it properly. But I came out of filming one day and it just felt so hard. I was filming the first episode for this. I felt completely naked. I felt like everyone in the studio was looking at me. Bearing in mind, guys, I'm completely on my own in here. I felt like I couldn't look at anyone else I was going out. I felt naked. I just thought I was so stupid. Like, what a stupid idea for me to think that I can do this. Like, who am I? And everyone is just going to laugh at me. I got in the car and I cried. And I think it was a mixture of stuff because perhaps I got smug because I thought I could just come in here and film and say everything I want to say and that it was going to land really well and not feel all of these emotions. But the truth is it was really, really hard. And I thought I'd gathered all this experience because I'd done all of these podcasts and I'd written a lot of the book, but marrying the two together has been really difficult. And I just went home. I texted a friend. I was like, this is so, I couldn't speak, literally couldn't speak. I was like, this is so stupid. Like, this is so pointless. I felt literally, guys, so silly. Like, I felt like everyone's laughing at poor little Brogan. And I just thought, do you know what? Like, I just got to give up on this. And I went home and after I texted my friend, I didn't want to talk about it because I actually got myself in a bit of a state. But the next morning, I got up, I picked myself up and I reminded myself all the stuff that I've just written about. Like, guys, life is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to feel hard and it's not always going to look how I imagined I thought it would. Honestly, I thought recording these episodes would become so naturally, but it really didn't work out like that. And sometimes we just have to give ourselves some space and grace. But that's what these podcasts and the vlogs about, because, you know, I want you to see the real stuff. I want you to know that I doubt myself, that I think I'm stupid, that I think about giving up pretty much all of the time. But all I do is bring myself back to the reason of why I started. I bring myself back to the deep inner knowing that I have always wanted to do this. And I know as I push towards anything, I will get to a breaking point. I know the doubts will get louder. I know it will start to creep in. I know that my inner critic will start to scream. But my job here isn't to silence the inner critic. I think it's just to really let it have its platform, let it have its voice, because we're never ever going to not doubt ourselves. So for me, it's been really important to just give it that platform, give it that voice, let it say its thing, and then bring it back to the truth, because you're never going to stop doubting yourself. And even some of the most successful people I've met and in the world, they still doubt themselves, you know. But the power comes when you learn to live with that voice, when you stop letting it drive the car and instead just leave it as a seat in the passenger. So that's what I had to remind myself this week. I've already decided what I want, right? I've already claimed my dream. And if you're not following me on social media, I've already claimed it on there. The question isn't whether the doubt keeps showing up. The question is whether I just keep moving anyway. And that's what I want to dive into today, because claiming our dreams is so damn difficult. And because for me, it's actually, I think, been the hardest part of this process. So let's get into it. Why do we find it so hard to claim our dreams? And I know we spoke about this a little bit in the last chapter, but honestly, why do we find it so hard to say, yeah, I want that thing, or just to even acknowledge it? I felt like the moment my soul gave me even a little inkling of what I wanted, I immediately and quite violently would just like brush it away. And I've just long pondered the question, like, why? Why can't I just say that I want that? And the answer might not surprise you, but it's taken me a little while to even accept it myself. Because I believe that on some level, you don't feel good enough. You don't feel good enough for that dream. And that is the bottom line of it. For me, claiming my dream was, in fact, the hardest part of this whole process, because by even acknowledging it, by me even giving it airtime, would that mean on some level I may possibly think that I'm even worthy of it. Not only that, but by even acknowledging the dream, it would then mean that I would have to take some kind of action towards it. And then by me taking action would mean that somehow I would believe that this would even be attainable. And the truth is, I just didn't feel enough. I didn't feel worthy of having a dream. I felt like I was always destined to be the T-boy. I spoke about it last week. I was always destined to watch everyone else from the sidelines. And through this journey, it's made me think, if I feel like this, then surely other people must feel the same. And I'm going to be real with you. When it came to even writing this book, I felt so unworthy. Who am I to try and help others? Who on earth is going to want to listen to little old me? But this book has sat on my hard drive since December 2022. And for reference, guys, it's September 2025. And that's how long it's taken me to even take action towards my dream. But the truth is this, I've always wanted to save people. I spent countless birthdays in homeless shelters. I've worked for charities most of my life. I know we spoke about it in the last episode. I went out to Haiti when there was an earthquake. Like, there is something at the core of me that just wants to help people, that yearns to help people, even at my own detriment. And I always knew that I was destined to help others, but I never had the courage to show up and do it because, quite frankly, I didn't feel like I was qualified enough, or that there would always be someone better than me to take on a task, or a real professional. But when I look back and see how all of the pieces of the puzzle were actually glaring me in the face, I think I spoke about it last week. Like, I've always had a great way with words. I got 100% in my exams without really turning up. And I've always had a really strong connection with people. And my gift of words is something that's been so deeply ingrained in me. And when I look at that and a childhood of seeing people in so much pain and then wanting to become their saviour, gave me this insatiable yearning to help others. I felt like I had lived through so much and experienced so much that children should never have to see. And I always knew on some level I could turn that pain into purpose. But for years and years, like over a decade, guys, I've accumulated this knowledge through the endless consuming in a self-help space. I have visited countless retreats, years of therapy. I promise you, I was your like go-to affirmation girl. Psychedelics, you name it, I can guarantee you I've probably tried it. But one of the most pivotal moments in this whole journey came when I just left the Hoffman process. I had just spent 7 days with a complete stranger in a house where we weren't able to leave. We had no connection to the outside world whatsoever. We were made to sit with each other all of the time, and we had to sit with each other through their journey and their pain. And I can't reveal too much because you had to do this NDA. But essentially, it is like years of therapy condensed into 8 days. And one of the final exercises was to write down the road our life was heading in. And we called it the left road. And it was made up of, what did you do for a living? Who are the people you surround yourself by? Where were you heading? What were you striving for? How do you talk to yourself? Like, if your life were going to continue to go down on this road, what does it look like? Then after that, we were asked to write down the right road. Now, this was meant to consist of all the things that we had ever dreamt of. Our fantasies, our dreams, our deep hope and aspirations that have lived in us ever since we were little. We were asked if we could do anything or be anything, if this world were limitless and anything was possible. What does our right road look like? So it was one of the last days in the house, and by then I'd spent a lot of time witnessing people in pain, and I knew deep down I could help them. I knew deep down I could help them feel seen, heard, understood. And I always knew how I can make people feel better. And as we left the process, you get given your first phone call. So it'd been a long 8 days. So I'd called my first family member, and I want to set the scene here. Like, I was like buzzing with joy. I had this Hoffman high, I'd had this huge awakening. I decided what my right road was. I decided what I want to do in my life. And so the phone rings, and the other end, they pick up, they're like, hello? I was like, hi, blah, blah. They're like, are you fixed yet? And I was like, still in my Hoffman high. I was like, so I've decided what I'm going to do, and I've decided what I want to do with my life. I felt so aligned, guys. And I said, I know what I want to do. Like, I want to maybe be a motivational speaker, and I'm going to share all of the knowledge that I've learned over the last decade and my experience. And I'm going to help people to start unlocking the power within themselves. And I want them to know how limitless they are. Now, before I could even finish my sentence, I literally heard a burst of laughter over the phone. I think they may have even spat out their drink. And their response to me was, Rogan, what mountains have you climbed? What real money have you made? Who's going to pay to listen to you? And then just like that, boom, pop, another pop in my bubble, my balloon, whatever you want to call it. But at this stage, I'd been lucky enough to learn so much in that house. And some of it was, that was his patterning. And although their words hurt me, I knew it was just a perception of how they were seeing the world. So in the first few months of leaving the Hoffman process, I started to take some action towards my goals. I kid you not, I wrote my first speech. And because I had no audience, I rehearsed it too. My son's teddy bears. So I don't know if you've listened to my episode of me and Ginger Kate, but this is a true story. And then when my poor sister came over for dinner, I'd finally plucked up the courage to tell her, could I practice my speech on you? So she sat on the sofa alongside the stuffed teddy bears and listened to my latest rendition of my speech. And guys, I just remember looking at her, and she felt so uncomfortable. And I didn't know if she was going to laugh or cry. And honestly, I swear to God, I kind of felt the same. Am I going to laugh? Is this just one big joke? Am I going to laugh or am I going to cry? And looking back, guys, you actually have to laugh. But no idea what I was doing. But I just knew that I had this dream, and I knew that I was destined to pursue it. And although I left the Hoffman process with a clear knowing of what I wanted to do with my life, over the coming months, the weight of the world got in the way. The feelings of unworthiness, a lack of experience flooded my mind. And yet again, I just pushed my dream to the back burner. In the next episode, I'm going to go deeper into how I got from there to here, and how I finally did overcome a lot of the feelings of unworthiness and finally had the courage to take action in the direction of my dreams. But for now, I want you to know that there are many reasons that we find it hard to claim our dreams. And one of them could be fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think, even if we aim high and fail, or even if we succeed. Sometimes it just feels safer to stay small than risk standing out. Because, I mean, who wants to stand out? Like, it's a scary place to be in. Then we've got the fear of failure. Failure threatens our sense of self-worth. Of course it does. And success, on the other hand, can feel just as intimidating because it means change. It means responsibility. It means stepping into unknown territory. And then we have this level of conditioning and limiting beliefs. From childhood, we're told what's realistic, what's not. And then what happens? Over time, these voices become internalized and we mistake them for our truth. Like that example I just gave you, where someone said to me, no one's going to pay to listen to you. I could have let that become my truth. And then there's a lot of comfort in the familiar struggle. Even when we're unhappy, there's a strange safety in the familiar. Dreaming big requires us to leave a comfort zone. And nobody likes moving their comfort zone. And then we've got the lack of self-trust. At the heart of it, I know I spoke about it earlier, we don't trust ourselves. Many of us doubt we have what it actually takes. We look for permission and validation for the perfect time rather than trusting in our own inner knowing. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. When I started a podcast, we started recording in the March. I never had the balls to put it out. It was with my therapist. Then we did have some content and it got to August or July and August. And James was like, let's put it out. And I was like, no, we can't put it out. Everyone's on holiday. No one's going to listen to a podcast. No, what a stupid idea. Babes, let me tell you, okay? Everyone's on an aeroplane. Everyone's on a beach. Everyone's off work. It would have been the perfect time. We're so good at talking ourselves out of things if they feel uncomfortable and waiting for permission or validation from an external source to tell us we should do the thing rather than just relying on the nudge that we've got from ourselves. And we also have a lot of cultural programming. We live in a system that celebrates conformity and productivity over authenticity. Claiming your dream can feel like you're rebelling against the script that society hands you. We spoke about last week, the map of the world it hands you when you come into the world, where you should go, what turns you should take, where you should end up. And then we have the grand old illusion of time. We often think about someday, but someday never comes. That delay that keeps us trapped in the waiting room, instead of actually just walking into the life that we want. Hidden under all of these reasons is a deep feeling of insecurity, a deep feeling of not being enough. So I'm here to tell you this: what you want wants you to. The fact that you have a dream, that yearn, that ambition, that is there for a reason. Once I woke up and understood that I was sabotaging me, I was getting in the way of my own dreams. I felt it wasn't anyone else. No one else is blocking your dreams apart from you. I felt like I had a duty and a mission to share that knowledge with the world. I wanted to report back to everyone. The self-help space, guys, is bullshit. You don't need to buy another book. You don't need to listen to another podcast. Everything you need is inside of you. You just need to hear you. The real you, not the world, because you already know. You always have done, and you always will do. I want people to start trusting in their callings, even if they don't make complete sense. I want people to start building a relationship inside of ourselves where we can start to trust our own voice before the voice of the world gets in. I wanted to save everybody thousands of pounds, guys, and endless hours of searching in the wrong direction. I wanted to write the book that I wish I'd read. And I wanted to tell everybody, call off the search party, guys. It is not out there. It's in here. It always has been, and it always will be. It's inside you all along. And I want you to know you are enough. You always have been. You always will be. You do not need to be qualified to follow your dream. So please don't fall into that trap. You are enough. Move towards it. Don't run away from it, and trust the process. It will all make sense because this dream was given to you for a reason. So let your faith be stronger than your fear, because the best is yet to come. Right, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I don't watch myself back because I make myself have a huge ick. So I am relying on you guys. I would love to know what you think about the episodes. I'd love for you to comment. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I would love to hear more about your journeys in getting there. Like, what are you guys going through this week? How has this episode helped you? Because I think the more we shine the light on the messy middle and the in-between, the more of us that will take action towards our dreams. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back next week.